Welcome to LandGate's channel. If you've been curious about renewable energy or looking for ways to make some extra income from your property, today's video is for you. We're talking about wind leasing. That's right, leasing your land for wind turbines is a unique opportunity to help the planet and your wallet at the same time. I pulled together a list of the most frequently asked questions about wind leasing so you'll walk away feeling prepared to make some decisions about your land. Let's get into it. The first big question is, what is wind leasing? Wind leases are long-term legal agreements between a landowner and a wind energy company. It's basically a partnership between you, the landowner, and a wind developer. If your land is a good fit, a company pays you to install and operate wind turbines on your property. These turbines generate clean energy that goes to the grid, and you get compensated just for providing the space. Think of it like renting out part of your land, but instead of a tenant moving in with their furniture, you'll be hosting tall spinning turbines that harvest wind power. Now, not every property is going to qualify for wind leasing, so what makes land a good candidate? Wind speed is the obvious first factor. Your property needs steady, strong wind to make turbine installation worth it for the energy company. Some areas, like the Midwest, have naturally great conditions for wind farms, but always check your specific location. Next is available space. You'll usually need a substantial amount of open land. Turbines are pretty big, so the company may be looking at 40 to 80 acres of eligible space per turbine. Proximity to energy infrastructure, like transmission lines and substations, is also important. Your property needs to be close to existing power infrastructure so the energy can flow easily to the grid. You can find out more about whether or not your land is suitable for a wind lease by getting a free LandGate property report. Simply find your parcel on the map and then click on the Wind Value Index. You'll be able to see its proximity to electrical grid infrastructure, average wind speed, buildable acreage, and its estimated lease value. Next is the golden question: how do you actually get paid leasing your land for wind turbines? Most wind leases pay landowners annually, either per turbine installed or by the acre used. This can vary a lot depending on where you live, but the general range is anywhere from $5,000 to $8,000 per turbine per year. For some larger landowners, this can really add up. But here's the kicker: those annual payments can increase over time if the turbines remain active. Plus, some agreements include royalties based on how much power is generated. The fourth most commonly asked question that we hear from landowners is, can I sell my wind lease payments? The short answer is yes. This is typically done through what's called a lease buyout. If you need a large sum of money up front rather than getting paid over several years, you can sell the future payments to a third party in exchange for a lump sum now. Many landowners choose to sell their wind lease payments up front for a lump sum. This is because the wind developer can stop operating the turbines at any time, meaning that the lease payments or royalties could also stop. Additionally, most wind lease payment amounts don't increase enough each year to stay in line with the current inflation rate, meaning that the payments lose value over time. Now for another common question: what can I do with my land during a wind lease? Can I still use it for farming, livestock, or other purposes? The good news is yes, you can usually still use the surrounding land during a wind lease. The turbines don't take up as much space as you think. For example, if you own a farm, you can continue planting crops or grazing livestock around the turbines. Just keep in mind that this is dependent on what you negotiate with the wind developer in the lease. And our final question is, how can I lease my land for a wind farm? There is a 4-step process. Step 1 is to evaluate your land. Start by understanding if your property meets the qualifications we talked about earlier, like wind speed, available space, and access to the grid. You can get a free property report from LandGate to assess these factors and more. Next, you want to list for lease on LandGate's marketplace. Listing is free with no obligations to accept any offers. Wind developers across the nation use LandGate's marketplace to evaluate land and contact interested property owners with offers. Third, you'll want to review the lease agreement. If you're offered a lease, take your time to review it carefully. You'll want to know key details like payment structure, lease length, and responsibilities for both you and the wind developer. And finally, you'll want to consult a lawyer. This one is important. Always get legal advice before signing anything to make sure your interests are protected. That's it for today's Q&A on wind leasing. I hope this helped answer some of your burning questions and maybe got you excited about renewable energy opportunities. If you have any other questions, drop them in the comments below and check out the linked resources in the video description.